Whether you're gearing up for your first marathon or you've run loads before, there are some classic mistakes that can turn your dream race day into a complete nightmare. Today, I'm breaking down the biggest marathon blunders that could sabotage your race day, but most importantly, I've got loads of solutions to those so you can run at your absolute best and secure an amazing run over the marathon. From pacing too fast to disastrous fueling choices and even that last minute temptation to try out new gear. We've seen it all. I've done most of these before. I've learnt the hard way over the years, but I've got some really good news for you because if you stick around to the end, I'll teach you all about how to steer clear of these pitfalls, race smarter and have more fun out there, and of course, finish the run strong. Right, let's get stuck into probably the most common mistake of them all, and that is going out too fast. Easily the most common mistake we see is people charging off far too fast at the start of the marathon. They're feeling good, they've got all that nervous energy to get rid of, and they look down at their watch and it says they're going to do 7:15 a mile when they really want to be running along at 8 to do their 3:30. And then before they know it, they've blown up at halfway and they're running and walking and the race is a complete nightmare. And when you go off at the start of the marathon, of course you're going to feel good. You're going to be out there for 3, 4 or 5 hours. If your training's gone okay, the pace is going to feel very easy at the start of the marathon. And this is really not the time to be thinking you can suddenly go and run a 3:10 marathon when you've been training for a 3:30. So what are we going to do about this? Well, no doubt you'll have a goal time in mind. Set off at that pace. Everyone's running with these fancy GPS watches these days. They tell you how fast you're going. Look down at your watch. If you want to be running 8-minute miles or 5 minutes a K, make sure that's what it says on your watch. Don't suddenly go off a lot faster than that. Ideally, for the first few miles, go off a little bit slower than that and ease up to your goal pace as the race goes on. So make sure you have a plan for your race, know the paces that you want to be running at, and be patient. By the time that mile 20 rolls around, you'll be overtaking a lot of people around you and be finishing strong. Believe me, no one is ever gone out and magically run 20, 30 minutes faster than they intended to over the marathon. In so many sports, you can have really good lucky days where everything comes together. With running, it's not like that. You're going to get out what you've put in training. So be realistic, stick to your paces and run to the ability that you've been training for. Some other top tips for not going out too fast: monitor the lap pace on your watch, which will reset every kilometer or every mile if you've got laps turned on. Just focus on that, ticking off every K as they go, sticking at your pace. Potentially run with some of the pacing groups that are going to be out there. So if you want to run a 3-hour marathon, stick with the 3-hour pacing group. They will make sure that you run the race nice and evenly all the way through and not burn out by going out too fast. No doubt a lot of you out there will have been following our training plans, which you can pick up at benparks.com. We'll link that down below. Loads of 5-star rated training plans from thousands of runners that have run some incredible times using our plans. And one of the big features of our plans is practicing at your goal pace during your long runs. We like to put in blocks of goal pace running in there so you know what that feels like to be running at your goal pace. So practice at your goal pace, know what that feels like, look at your watch, don't go off too fast, use a pacing group if you want to. Something that is an absolute classic over race day weekend is if you're going to a new city, exploring somewhere that's exciting, people spend far too much time on their feet the day before the race. I've done this mistake myself before. I did 35,000 steps the day before I ran Amsterdam Marathon, doing a bit of sightseeing. I got to race day and felt obviously quite fatigued by doing that. Just because you might not be running that day, it also means you want to be spending some time off your feet and relaxing. Go to the expo by all means, and then get back to your hotel, get back to your Airbnb, and just relax. If you particularly want to get out and do some sightseeing, maybe look at some Segway tours out there. So a bus tour, a boat tour, something else to take you around the city other than your legs. You want to be saving them. But ideally plan to explore after your race. Walking is a fantastic way to recover after your marathon. One of the best things we can be doing. So plan some sightseeing, maybe for Monday and Tuesday, when you can walk around and get that recovery process going. That's definitely the best time to be sightseeing. This is way more common than you think it would be, but so many people use the on-course nutrition when they haven't practiced with it in their training. This is especially a problem on trail races when there's a lot more selection to choose from than in road marathons, but it still happens in road marathons as well. And not only is this a problem for people trying the on-course nutrition, it's also a potentially problem from taking things from people in the crowd that are handing out jelly babies or some other gels out there. They do mean really well, and it's fantastic people come out and support runners in this way. But if you haven't tried this stuff in your training, then how do you know it's going to work and be okay with your stomach during race day? Your body and your guts are under a lot of stress when you're running, and throwing something new in that could result in a few unwanted trips to the portaloo or porta potty. For me, I took some Lucozade Sport during a race once, like one of the Lucozade drinks, and I thought, I've had this all the time when I've not been running. I've never used it when I'm running. What's the harm that can do? Well, I found out with some disastrous consequences pretty soon after that with a pants round the ankle type situation. Your body works a lot differently when you are running. The solution to something like this: only put things in your mouth that you've used during your training. Try out lots of different products, figure out what works with you in your training, research what the race is giving out, and potentially practice with that in your training as well if you do want to use the on-course nutrition. Fuel often, fuel early, fuel every about 30 to 45 minutes during the marathon as well. Don't wait till you feel tired, because that will be too late in the day. Practice carrying your gels in training. For me, I like to use a waistband, a waist belt, and I can tuck all of my gels in there that I'm going to be using for the race. Practice what it feels like, and you'll be absolutely fine getting it done on race day. Moving on to have a chat about weather and tough weather conditions and people not adapting to that. Now, I get this 100%. You put your heart and soul into your training, get to race day feeling really good, only to find out suddenly it's going to be 25 degrees, 85 Fahrenheit, or humid, and bad weather conditions for running, or potentially our worst nightmare, windy conditions. Who remembers running the London Marathon in 2017, or that year that the big half had these howling stormy winds? Your body's going to be working a lot harder to keep cool out there, or battling through those winds, burning through your energy stores a little bit quicker than you will be used to. And if you push through this, then you're going to be hitting the wall very quickly. You can put some things in place to delay this happening, but it really will result in having to slow down and adjust your expectations for the race. The solutions for something like this: check the on-course weather during the build-up for the race. Now, it's not really worthwhile to be panicking about this all week and the week before, but just have some things in place that if it is going to be a hot day, when you check a day or a couple of days before, that you can then adapt. If it's going to be warm, then I say you need to adapt your pacing, wear some sun cream, take on some electrolytes in the build-up to the race, and ideally as you're going round as well. Wear a hat, of course, getting a hat from benparks.com. We sell the best running hats anywhere in the world, thousands of 5-star reviews, used by people in all sorts of different racing, trails, roads, and everything like that. Go and check them out and help support the channel here. Now, the wind is a really, really tricky one because there really isn't much you can do. Practice running in a group in some of your training, and then you can share the lead if you're one of the faster runners out there with not too many people around you, and you can practice sort of drafting and then sharing the lead. Or if you are more of a mid-pack runner, the roads are going to be a little bit busier, then winds don't affect us as much as we might think they do in our training when we're just out there by ourselves. Suddenly you're in a big group and they don't affect us too much. So don't panic too much about the wind. We can usually get through that one okay. Something, again, that happens way more than you think it would be. People that arrive late to the start line and then have to start at the back of the field adds so much unnecessary stress and all that wasted energy weaving, trying to overtake people to get up to pace. What I really always like to do with the races that I do is practice that journey from where you're staying to the start line the day beforehand or a couple of days beforehand if you have time. Have a backup plan if that goes wrong as well. Staying close to the start line is really important to me if I can afford it. With the price of hotels and things in the running boom, it's becoming harder and harder to do that. But I always prioritize staying in maybe like a worse part of the city or a worse accommodation, so long as it's near the start line and I can walk to the start line for a completely stress-free start to the day. So pre-race fueling in the lead up to the race and the morning of, again, it's a really tricky thing, especially when we are traveling to races. If you're going abroad, staying in a hotel, then plan your dinner and breakfast during your training that you know you're going to be able to replicate in the day before and the morning of the race. Don't walk into the hotel breakfast thinking, oh, what do I fancy today? I'm gonna have this massive mound of porridge and honey and oats and stuff like this. If you've never had it, that could be an absolute disaster. Keep it super simple. Rice is available pretty much everywhere in the world as a night before carb load. An absolute classic for race day morning is my bagels, but maybe there's not a toaster available. I don't particularly like eating bagels without that, so maybe croissants is a really good backup. You can have them cold, warm, whatever you want, chuck some jam on them. Croissants are a really good thing you can buy, again, pretty much anywhere. Take them to the race and get those down. Potentially just having a peanut butter and jelly or jam sandwich, you can just practice that in your training, and again, you can use that on race day morning. Think of these things that you can just make up. Cereal with some milks. Make up these meals that you can definitely replicate on your race day morning, and you know they're going to work. Now, I wasn't sure whether to put this one in because it's something that happens to me all the time. I've never really seen it on any lists or anything I've ever seen over the years, but I think it's such an important thing. So let me know in the comments if you agree with this one, and let us know what are your best race day tips to help out the running community as well. Now, this is not ignoring nagging things as they happen during the race. Shoe issues, clothing issues, toilet issues, things like that. These will normally only get worse if you ignore them. The classic one here is like something like a stone in your shoe. It's just a simple, get your shoe off, get that stone out, get it tied back up in it, and get back on your run. If you've got a stone in your shoe, your foot will probably be under tension, trying to stop the pain, and then you could develop quite a nasty little injury from just running in a different, unnatural way. Get that stone out your shoe as quickly as you can. With some clothing, you might be getting chafing. Hopefully not, because it's the clothing you've practiced in all the time, but it can still happen on a particularly hot and sweaty day, something like that. Grab a medical person, grab some anti-chafe, get it on there, stop that chafing as soon as you can. Maybe you tied your shoes up too tight or too loose at the start. Again, just stop, adjust them. Don't let these issues become other issues. You're going to be getting some blisters if they're too loose, stopping off some circulation if they're too tight. Stop, adjust them, carry on. I know this goes against a lot of the natural instinct. You don't want to waste any time, but when I've had these issues in the past myself, I've always felt like I've made up more time in the long run by just addressing them really quickly. Using the loo is another absolute classic. I ran a 2:38 in Valencia last year, including a loo stop in a porta potty. That was just for a number one, but then I ran about 240, mid 240s or something at the in Denver at a marathon before, with a full sit down loo stop during the race. So don't worry, you will feel so much better afterwards for just getting that out of your system as well. And yes, these things are annoying when they happen during the race, but deal with them quickly, and I guarantee you're going to make up that time. Now, the final one here is an absolute classic, wearing new shoes and new kit on race day. Again, people do this all the time. I've done it myself. I've learned the hard way, and now I'm making these videos to make sure you don't do it as well. But again, so many people go into this panic mode in the night before the race or the day before and just thinking, I'm just going to suddenly use this brand new shoe because I've seen this influencer use it or this professional athlete use it. Just being super boring is the best thing we can do in this situation. No new shoes, no new clothing, no new gels, no new breakfast. If you are in any doubt at all about what sort of shoes and what gear to go with the most comfortable ones. Running for 3, 4 or 5 hours is a hell of a long time. You don't want to go with something that is potentially going to give you some issues and be uncomfortable. Even if you feel like it's going to be faster, you're going to get some issues and you will run slower. Go with the most comfortable option out there. But overall, my message for this whole video is I don't want to panic everyone. It's awesome that you're watching a video like this, learning, improving yourself. I'm still learning. I've run nearly 100 marathons here in my lifetime, and maybe about 10 of them have gone what I would call absolutely perfectly. Stuff always does crop up. What we can really control is everything that's happening before our race and getting that right to really minimize the chance of things happening during the race. So have a great time out there, guys. Let me know how you get on. If you want some specific advice on how to not hit the wall in the marathons, then check out this video up here. That video is coming up next. That's it, guys. Keep on working hard, keep on getting it done, and we'll see you very soon in the next one.